Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we are reviewing all the films I've seen this year in 2023. I've kind of skipped around on the timeline a little bit. Some of the movies that I had planned to see midway through the year got moved back a little bit. And one film that happened to was the film Saw X, which was supposed to premiere like every Saw movie has had premiered in October. This one actually premiered on September 27th, and that was good for me because my baby was due September 30th. So with them moving up to September 27th, my goal was to really get in and watch this movie before my baby was delivered. And I'm so happy to say that did work, that did happen. Rated R, it's an hour and 58 minutes and is distributed by Twisted Pictures and directed by Kevin Gerard, who has been the film editor of Saw 6, Saw 7, and Spiral, the Book of Saw. The synopsis is, hoping for a miraculous cure to his cancer, John Kramer travels to Mexico for a risky experimental medical procedure, only to realize the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with a newfound purpose, the infamous serial killer uses deranged and ingenious traps to turn the tables on the con artist.
According to these scans, the tumor was never removed.
How much time do I have?
Months, at best.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.
It is starring the legendary Tobin Bell as John Kramer, Shawnee Smith as Amanda Young, Synnøve Macody as Dr. Celia Pederson, Fernanda Baca as Gabriella, Stephen Brand as Parker Sears, Paulette Hernandez as Valentina, Tavio Hingosa as Mateo, Michael Beach as Henry, and it does star Costas Manylor as Detective Mark Hoffman. When I learned that this film was coming out, it's 2023, we live in a generation where there's a Saw film coming out. I could not believe it. I could not be more excited. My sister and I began our Saw journey when Saw 5 came out, so we were kind of late to the game. I did hear every year as a kid growing up in middle school and high school, oh, another Saw movie's coming out, another Saw movie's coming out every Halloween. But I just like the Scream franchise I never really got into, as well as the Scary Movie franchise. They all just kind of combine together. That's like, okay, every year these Halloween movies come out, and the only Halloween movies I really enjoyed was Halloween. So that was the franchise I cared about when I was younger. But when we were in college, or maybe it was high school, maybe late high school, that's when Saw 5 came out. So we saw that one first, and then we went back. And oh my gosh, my sister and I fell in love with the whole Saw franchise. We have books, literally entire notebooks filled with Saw facts, clues, trying to piece literally all the jigsaw pieces together and how the films tie into each other. So this one, Saw X, it takes place between Saw, the first one, and Saw 2. And so knowing that Tobin Bell was going to reprise his role as John Kramer, and I love this one because he actually shows his acting ability in it, which obviously he's starred in other things other than Saw, but for those who only know him as John Kramer, Jigsaw, you really got to see him act. And he wasn't just laying on the floor, laying in a bed, or a memory of the past. He was actually like being in the movie, and it is all about him. And yes, they did try to humanize him, and I honestly have felt a humanization towards him since Saw, I believe it was 6 with Mr. Easton and the financial insurance company. And I feel like, I could be wrong in this, but they say this is between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So the Saw film I want to see is one in between. So like Saw 11, maybe, and then Saw X. And obviously Saw X means Saw 10, but people call it X. And I want to see where, because it shows in the flashback with Mr. Easton, John Kramer going to his insurance company, Umbrella Loan Company, I believe. They talk about this project, this medical experimentation to cure his cancer. And he's seeing if his insurance will cover it. He comes and he's like, hey, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. And Mr. Easton cuts him off. He's like, yeah, John, I know what it is. We're not going to cover you. If you go out your own way to cover your own expenses, we'll drop you as a client. And he's just like, whatever, screw you guys. And that's when he really wanted to put William Easton into a trap, because he was not giving people the opportunity. However, this is interesting to see this story, because I remember that, and I watched all of the movies before seeing this movie. I literally spent the last 3 months of my pregnancy watching all the films, writing all the notes, everything like that. And so I want to see when John, the lead up to him going into Mr. William Easton's office, as well as when he says that the traps aren't what gives him his will to live, is when he attempted to end his lifeline by crashing his vehicle, and he survived that. So I kind of want to see what happened there. This one was interesting more for the arc of Amanda Young. It shows in Saw, she was a victim, she survived. They said, what do you think he is trying to teach you? And she's like, he helped me. And then in Saw 2, she looks like she's a victim, but she's actually now the person putting together the trap. And she put together the trap all to trap Eric Matthews. So how did she go from victim to now I'm the one performing this trap? So this one really shows how John took her under his wing and was showing her, this is how you do this, this is what you do. And that struggle she has with Gabriella, who is also an addict as well. And she feels for her. She's like, I don't feel like that's right. And when Gabriella survives her trap, and all for Cecilia Pederson to get up and end her life anyway, but yet John let Cecilia live because she won her trap, it's so frustrating for Amanda. And you really see it in Saw 3 when she loses the belief system that John has tried to explain his way away, as well as try to teach his apprentices. First off, a couple of negatives. There was no de-aging, which Tobin Bell really didn't need de-aging. His character, John Kramer, has been suffering with cancer for a few years, so he does look kind of gout, kind of thin, kind of older, so that made sense for him. But Shawnee Smith, and we brought that back, that hideous wig, and I know everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone has been talking about it. She looks older. She doesn't really have a reason to look older, except for the fact that this is 20 years after the first film even came out. But that explanation that process just really didn't go over too well. You knew that Cecilia was a scammer, taking her dad's practice was being investigated, so they had to take their clinical practice on the road like it's a tour or something. That's just weird. That should have been a red flag. I think John should have been maybe a little smarter to have known, but maybe he's just so desperate for a cure. When Peter shows up, I don't know why they even left the phone for any of them to have access to, but when she made a phone call and then soon after this guy showing up claiming he's a survivor and he just found out that they're scammers too, that was obvious. But then especially when John said there are rules, no guns, no weapons, I knew the instant Peter looked at him with that rule in place that he is going to try to retrieve his gun and try to F up the game and, just mess things up for John and Amanda. So the one twist I did not see, and I really don't know if many people noticed it, but Diego, the taxi driver, when John was going into surgery, Celia Pederson is introducing him to everybody. He says, here's Mateo, the anesthesiologist, and here is Dr. I cannot remember the name, but the surgeon. And then he goes under, supposedly. Well, I do think he went under. But when he puts Diego, who's the first person in the trap, he was the taxi driver, he was in on all of it. How we know he's in on all of it is because he says, Diego, or shall I call you, doctor? And he says the surgeon's name.
Hello, Diego. Or should I call you Dr. Cortez? I'd like to play a game.
What a twist!
Because I did not see the taxi driver pretending to be the surgeon. So when they said that, I was like, what? But him pretending to be the brain surgeon, I think is a missed opportunity that they gave Mateo the trap to where he had to cut open his own skull and perform brain surgery. Yes, he is the anesthesiologist. I understand not giving him anesthesia because he lied to John saying he's going to give him anesthesia. I get that. But why make him do the brain surgery when Diego is the one who pretended to be the surgeon giving John brain surgery? That was such a missed opportunity. John really lets his guard down, and you see him kind of putting away the traps. Obviously something, he does retrieve those notes because we see the track. I believe it's called the rack. So we do see that he does retrieve the notes that he threw away anyway because he uses it on Timothy Young in Saw 3. But we see the blueprints of
I
the
still
rack.
have a lot.
And with this cure about to be performed, and he feels a sense of he doesn't need to do this anymore. So he throws it away, and it's just like, it was such a sweet moment because it's like he was really ready to just start living his life and retire. When he realizes that they lied to him, it's different than how it happened in the trailer. In the trailer, his own doctor says, oh, according to these scans, the tumor was never removed. So I really thought he was going to go back home and then maybe find his way back to Mexico or something. But he doesn't. That didn't happen in the actual movie. How it did happen is he went to go thank them and bought Gabriella, one of the sweeter ones that Amanda and John both kind of gravitated more towards because she did seem a little bit more innocent than the rest of them. He went to go give them wine to say thank you, and they've closed up shop. They're gone. They've evacuated, but for some stupid reason they left behind the clip of the surgery, the brain surgery that they only recorded is a pre-recorded from an actual surgery, not from John's actual head. And he takes off his bandages and he has his hair. His head had never been cut open, and he is livid as he should be. And so him taking revenge on this crew and him not hiding behind he does play them tape recorders, but he's not hiding. He's right there. He's literally sometimes right in front of their faces. He's up in the window where they can see him. And he's just really mad, which is interesting because in Saw 5, he tells Detective Mark Hoffman, never make it personal. What's more personal than attacking an entire group of people who conned you of your cancer treatment? I don't blame him, but how can he then go preach to an apprentice, never make it personal? And if you really look back, all his traps have been personal. Dr. Gordon, because he was the doctor that always ignored him and kept his hand on the door, didn't really treat him too well. Just a lot of people were actually very personal to him. But this was very much You're rooting for him. You would be just as mad if you think you found a cure for your cancer, your disease. You put in all this money, you gave them all this money just for them to be a scam. And Cecilia Pederson, holy fuck, do I hate her. And everybody does. She was so much worse than John. And not only did she lie and do the con artist stuff, but even when being in the trap, she was still lying. Because they're like, you did this. And she's like, oh no, I didn't know. You know, we cured them. We sent them on their way. I had no idea that our procedures didn't work. And Amanda's like, well, actually, bitch. And she pulls up the receipts like, yeah, you knew. It's like, stop lying. And I think I love what John says. He's like, we're done playing your game. It's time to play a game. It's time to play my game. And it's like, yes, bitch, yes. Because she just kept lying and it was so obvious. But not only that, on top of all that, she kept trying to direct everyone, Mateo, Valentina, Gabriella, on how to do their traps. And I felt something weird every time she kept trying to like walk them through it. A, how is she most knowledgeable on these procedures? And B, why is she helping so much? And why is the way she's helping actually detracting from helping them? Well, because after Gabriella actually lives and John and Amanda come down to call the police, to take her to the hospital to get her treated, Cecilia comes over and just cold-bloodedly kills her. After Valentina had to cut off her leg, suck the bone marrow out of her leg, gets decapitated in the last second. Valentina's body, I felt so bad for her. After she's dead, after her leg's over here, her head's over here, Cecilia decides to drag her body over to her and cut out her intestines to use it as a rope to get the cart in order to get her phone, to call Peter. Why did they leave the phone in there? That just seems like such a setup. There are so many things, and it happens in every Saw movie, where it's like, okay, if that one little thing hadn't been there, how would you have done that? So it's very frustrating in that sense. And then Cecilia, she did live. I do think she lives. When Amanda was like, oh, she'll be the death of you. She's going to kill you too, you know. And Peter's like, yeah, you know nothing. No, sir, she's going to kill you. She even admitted all of them are expendable. Because if they die, that's just more money in her pocket. Because she is having to split that money with all the con artists. Well, John and Amanda were taking care of the con artists for her, so she gets all the money. I don't remember the little kid's name. The little kid that is in it, I actually really did break down crying. Now, again, this is literally a few days before my baby was due, and only a few days before she was actually born. She was due September 30th. She was born October 2nd. This movie I went and saw it September 27th. So, when I was very emotional. When John has to do the game, the trap with the little kid, and Cecilia's cruel to put a child in there, but it raises the stakes. And they're being blood boarded on that trap where John's on one side and the child's on the other side, and they have to pull a lever. Very convenient that the only Spanish word he learned was pull. I don't know it. I don't know Spanish. I can't teach you Spanish. I failed it 3 times in my life. Middle, high school, and college, I failed it. Actually, I think I finally passed it in college, but still, I don't know what it was. But he learned the word for pull. So he's telling him, don't pull the lever. But the kid's so sweet, and he kept pulling the lever, so he's getting blood boarded as well. And it just hit me. We know John Kramer's gonna live. He's John motherfucking Kramer, as Cecilia cringily called him in the movie. Like, I do that knowing I'm cringy, but she said it in the actual movie. You're John motherfucking Kramer. Actually, she didn't say motherfucking. She said John fucking Kramer. But he's John Kramer. We knew he was going to live. Because there's going to be a second one and a third one, and he dies in the third one. So my heart It was like, I don't know this kid. And all the other people we don't know, they're dead. They're all gonna die. Because none of them are in the future films. So this kid is gonna die. And I lost it at that part. I just started crying, and my sister's kind of looking over like, why are you crying? And I'm like, we know John's gonna live. Who is this kid? He's not gonna live. So when they did, spoilers, they do live. Both of them live. And they walk out together. Mark Hoffman, if you stayed to that mid-credit scene, which I always do, always stay to the end of every credit, and that's before Marvel. That was back in my film editing days. It's just courtesy. All these people took all this time to make this film. At least be polite and stay till the end of the credits, because even that takes a long time to make. So that's just something I learned in film class, and I've done ever since. And then it seemed like Marvel always throws in a little, kind of like a little extra credit thing, like, thank you for staying for the credits. So maybe they did that so people would start adapting that mindset, and I kind of like it. So, but with the mid-credit scene, it shows Henry, because like, okay, that guy said he's a survivor. He's the one who told John about the Pederson project. Is he in on it? Of course he's in on it. The scar was fake. There is no scar. And they go back to the infamous bathroom. There was a theory going around that was incorrect, unfortunately. I really thought Daniel Matthews might show up somewhere. He didn't. That's Eric Matthews' son. As we know, Eric was trapped in that bathroom as well. And we never saw what happened to Daniel. Last we saw him, he woke up from the poison house, and he was in the safe. And that, you have to listen to what John says. You always have to listen. The words he says mean stuff. If you just talk to me, Eric Matthews, you'll find your son in a safe and secure place. He literally was in the safe behind him. But so Henry's faking it. There is no scar. He had no procedure. He's part of the Pederson project. He's like a recruit person to get vulnerable people who are so desperate for a cure, to go to the Pederson project, to go look it up and stuff like that. So not only is John there to put him in the trap, but we have Detective Mark Hoffman, everybody. Yay. And when, I think earlier in the movie, John even calls a detective and he says, hey, can you look up this person for me? He was looking up information on Henry, and that's how they found out he is faking it too. So they have him in this trap. The trap makes no sense. There was no tape that played. It's just literally John on one side, Hoffman on the other side. And I knew when I heard his voice in the trailer, and he says the infamous little line, to me it's infamous.
All the men to cheat, you picked John Kramer?
Of all the men to cheat, you chose John Kramer? Like, bitch, you're gonna die. I love that. Now, the only thing is the director, who also was the editor in Saw 6, Saw 7, and Spiral, the Book of Saw. I know he was the editor on all three of those, and he's the editor on this. I know Saw is known for fast editing, that crazy choppy, what the hell, but what the fuck to the very last scene. If I ever own this movie and rewatch it, I will rewatch it, but when I rewatch it, I will literally end it at the part of the tape going da-na, and playing Zep song da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, and then just turn it off there, because that last editing choice, going in on Henry's stomach and spinning round and round, like it, I don't know, it just reminded me of Porky Pig going like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that's all folks. Like, it was so cartoonish. I hated it. I hated that last scene. That's how we're gonna end this movie. Okay, weird. I didn't really like the ending of the movie in general, because that was just the ending of the mid-credit scene. But the ending of the movie in general is too calm, in my opinion. I love the ending of the first one when Adam, oh my god, that was so scary when he's literally, very first time we ever see it, he gets shut in the bathroom, lights go out, John shuts the door. Some people are so ungrateful. Alive. Not you. Not anymore. Game over. And he shuts the door and you just hear Adam. You see him going, eyes peeled back, and he's saying, no, no. And then it turns dark, and as the credits roll, there's not like hip-hop music or anything like that playing. It's just Adam screaming no, like how haunting. And there's been other ones that are really great like that, where you just hear the person yelling no or bitch or something like that. So it was nice that all of them lived, but it's just a little, I wish it had been a little bit more climactic, or shown some snippet of Cecilia coming back, or that she's actually dead. I kind of hope she's actually dead, because I don't really care to see her again. She made me cringe the entire time. I don't like her, but she'd probably come back. I was on a Saw fan page, and a lot of people enjoyed how much they hated her. And a lot of people have questioned who has been the worst, the person who deserved to be in a trap the most of all the films. Cecilia, easy. Some other people have made really bad decisions. Some people, I feel like William Easton, going back to him, the insurance, the umbrella insurance, I feel like in a way he changed, and he could easily just change his policy the next day. I don't think he deserved to have died, but I could go over all of that in a whole nother video if I ever wanted to break down all the Saw stuff. Well, I want you guys to comment. A, if you've seen this, did you like it? I feel like it did revive a lot of people's faith in this franchise. They kind of fell off board with a lot of them. No offense, 6, 7, and Spiral, Book of Saw, Jigsaw. A lot of people didn't like those. I didn't remember Jigsaw at all, but the franchise just hasn't been good, and I hope it's okay to drop other YouTubers' names, but Cody Leach, he is known to, he liked it at one point, but then he really hasn't cared. And the reason I'm mentioning him is because it's kind of, this film, Saw X, kind of revamped his liking for this franchise again, and I love that it did that for a lot of people. Like, you take The Exorcist Believer, I did not see that movie this year. I just saw it. It was terrible. I haven't watched reviews before I see the movie, but it was already obvious that it was just, people were not liking it. So that made people go like, why are we doing this? Why are we revamping The Exorcist? This made it like, yes, there's actually something to look forward to, and this was exciting, and this gives us hope for there may be a future in Saw. I'm so excited. But I also want you guys to leave your theories for the next Saw film. Where do you think they should go? Do you think that they can't bring Cary Elwes back, Dr. Gordon? A lot of people want him to come back. If they could, I'm sure there'd be a lot more theories that could actually come to fruition. But unfortunately, Cary Elwes thinks he's above Saw, so to each their own. He may be mentioned, but he's not coming back. He's already said he's done with the Saw franchise. But we do have Costas Manylor as Mark Hoffman. We could do stuff with him. We could do stuff with him and Amanda and that little rivalry they had. How did he know Amanda was there the night that Jill lost the baby? How did their little temper tantrum, their little quarrel start? And when did Mark Hoffman go from justfully copying Jigsaw to get justice for his sister who was murdered brutally, to just becoming Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers himself and just killing people, sewing his face back? It's just a flesh wound. And being this, like, complete, like, Terminator person you can't destroy. How did those things happen? Will Cecilia go after John Kramer? Will John Kramer go after Cecilia? Is Cecilia dead? Can she just be dead and we just forget about her? We forgot about Daniel Matthews. Will we ever see Daniel Matthews again? There's so many loose ties. And a theory my sister has, I will put it out there. Detective Tapp. Why was he so intrigued on Dr. Gordon being the jigsaw killer? He found his pen light. We saw in a flashback that Mark Hoffman is the one who put the pen light there during the Paul trap with the razor wires. So he was framed. But there was something Tapp saw. Something Detective Tapp knew about Dr. Gordon. And when he died, when Zepp shot Detective Tapp, you don't think Tapp would have brought a bulletproof vest with him? His partner died of gunshots. I'm sure he probably had a bulletproof vest. I kind of think maybe there's a Detective Tapp situation that could possibly happen. I know in the game he does die, but the game I've heard is not canon, so he could still be out there too. And he only got shot one time. The one who really believes this and wants to hear anybody's input on Detective Tapp is my sister. If someone could please like help us understand if Tapp is still out there. There's so many people. Will Logan come back as an apprentice? God, I wish I knew the little boy's name. I'll put it down if I can remember. Will he become an apprentice? Because John gave him all that money. What's gonna happen? So where can they take it? They could take it in so many different ways.
You will want to remain alert.
Please leave your comments down below, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification because we have just a couple more videos coming out, you guys, before the end of the year. Thanks much. See you at the next movie.